Here come more restaurant rebrands. Hello and welcome to the Week in Restaurants. I'm Jonathan Mays, Editor-in-Chief of Restaurant Business, and I am here with Senior Tech Editor Joe Guszkowski. It's a packed episode this week, including a couple of notable rebrands from Domino's and Long John Silver's. We will talk about those. Joe also talks about rebrands later in the podcast on his Tech Check segment. Speaking of marketing, Wendy's hired a consulting firm run by a very interesting former industry executive. We'll discuss that particular situation. And you can now get delivery from ChatGPT. I'll have Joe explains what the hell that means. But first, Joe, have you been to Chi-Chi's?
No, I haven't been to Chi-Chi's.
Really?
I think it was
Never?
gone before I
Not
was,
even in its heyday?
before I was eating.
Do you even remember it?
I do remember it, yeah.
Yeah. So Chi-Chi's opened this week near Minneapolis, where I live. I had the opportunity to go. I had the opportunity just because I made a reservation, and I'm glad I did because apparently it was really tough to get a reservation if you waited too long. And I had it was packed. There were some first day sort of headaches, as you might imagine. Took me a little bit to get served. The menu was broad, and with your typical selection of Mexican fare and atypical items such as meatloaf, and of course a hamburger. But they had the basics on there. They had the chimichangas. The chimichanga was really good. More or less a smothered burrito, and the fried ice cream was absolutely the star. It's been decades since I've been to Chi-Chi's. And you can definitely tell that was one of the reasons why it was successful when it was, until it stopped being successful. So it was really a good overall visit. It was pretty busy, as you might imagine. Generally, really good first impression to me. Now the question is always, you're starting a dead brand. And brands are usually dead for a reason. And by the way, Chi-Chi's was not dead because of the foodborne illness thing. It was having problems before that happened.
I believe it had already filed for bankruptcy, right?
Yeah, it had already filed for bankruptcy and then had a foodborne illness problem. But you get to that point. And frankly, that segment, full service Mexican, is just not great. And it just is just never really taken. And, that's something that I mentioned in a couple of segments this week, in one of my blogs this week. I mean, the market today versus 20 years ago when they were around is just very, very different. It's much more competitive. I mean, I don't know about you. I mean, you have a lot of Mexican places around where you're at.
There's a few, yeah, not chains though.
Yeah, not changed. Yeah, no, independent Mexican restaurants are all over the place. If you really want to get a good taco, you do not have to go far. And you can
go to a truck, really. If you want a good taco.
Can go to a truck.
Yeah.
You could be in the rural Midwest. I mean, and I know, because there are, I mean, you've had a lot of people from south of the border who have settled in rural areas to take jobs, and many people have followed them and have started excellent little Mexican restaurants. So it's just a much more competitive market. The full service Mexican segment as a chain segment has not done very well. I mean, I think sales last year were flat, but there was just not that many big chains. So it's a tough market. We'll see. You're going to have to live a little bit. You're going to have to live off a little bit more than just nostalgia to make that work. But you know what? Really good first impression as far as I'm concerned. That's should good. Check it out. You have to get to Minnesota.
Okay, my wife's from there, so
yeah, well,
she'll drag me to Chi-Chi's, I'm sure.
Yeah, great. Now explain this ChatGPT thing. Can I get delivery from ChatGPT? What's going on?
Soon you will be able to chat with DoorDash and Uber Eats within ChatGPT. You can already do it with other apps, so you could ask ChatGPT to make you a yacht rock playlist, because I know you like yacht rock.
I do love me some yacht rock.
And it'll go into your Spotify account and create you a playlist. Now, to actually listen to the playlist, you'll need to leave ChatGPT to go to Spotify, but you can click out of it and start listening to Yacht Rock. So it'll be a similar situation with DoorDash and Uber Eats. You can say, I want to order pizza, and it'll show you some DoorDash pizza options, some menu items maybe, and then you can click into that and it'll take you into DoorDash to complete your order. This is interesting. I mean, more and more people are using ChatGPT to search the web almost as like a Google replacement. So the idea that you could be, as a restaurant, be getting customers from ChatGPT is very interesting, but it raises some questions such as, how does ChatGPT decide which restaurants to show you? Who owns the data when Jonathan Mays searches for pizza? Who knows that? Is that just ChatGPT's information, or does that get shared with the delivery apps, et cetera, et cetera? Is ChatGPT making any revenue on this? Is our restaurants going to be paying some form of commission to ChatGPT for finding them orders? There are so many questions. I've asked the companies involved some of these questions, and answers have not been forthcoming. But it's just like this omni-channel world that we're living in just keeps expanding, and pretty soon you're going to be able to order from a restaurant in just about any app you can think of, I believe. And the latest example of that is Cash App, which is sort of like Venmo. It's part of Square, is now allowing you to order from restaurants within your Cash App. So it's just the latest example of this sort of omni-channel creep into all these different platforms. We're getting further and further away from the actual restaurant.
Yeah. Well, the ChatGPT thing is interesting because, like AI, ChatGPT and some of these AI programs are sort of effectively evolving into sort of digital assistants. That's kind of where this is going. They're going to be digital assistants. So sort of like, I mean, in fact, there's even an attempt to make essentially a digital assistant that's sort of like a phone device. And this is just seems to just like flow right from that, where, you could just tell your AI digital assistant that you've developed a relationship with probably to order you a pizza or some Mexican food from your nearby independent Mexican restaurant. I mean, that's kind of where it's going, right? I mean, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think we'll get there eventually, where it'll be almost an agent, and it'll all happen within ChatGPT. It raises questions really for places like DoorDash and Uber Eats. If you can just do all of that in ChatGPT and it kind of does all the work for you, do you really need those apps anymore? Do you even need a website if you're a restaurant? Do you need an app? I mean, I think we're a ways away from that, just because there's a lot that has to be integrated for that to happen and for that to work to your satisfaction. But yeah, I think that's where we're going for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess we're going to see. I mean, it's definitely a different world. And I'm not sure that when DoorDash started that they had imagined that it would get to this particular point by now. But I mean, you really see a very strong potential for these, for these aggregator apps to evolve even further with the help of AI. So I mean, I think that it's the implications for restaurants and restaurant chains are very significant, and we're just sort of touching on the surface here. To your point, ChatGPT and the like have rapidly are replacing Google in search, and it's definitely an area that has implications. We just don't know exactly what all they are yet.
Yeah,
But
it's a lot more questions than answers right now, but
that is for sure. Let's talk about a bunch of rebrandings, because apparently we are just going to be covering an endless stream of rebrandings around here, Joe. After the Cracker Barrel thing, and then Long John Silver's comes out with a new logo.
That's not real, right? That's a stunt, right?
It's real.
It's real?
It's real. It is. It's real as a donut. Points if you know where that's from. But it's real. I didn't believe it either. I actually thought, I looked at the calendar and it's not April 1st. I don't think this is an IHOB situation. I think
Wow.
that this is what they're doing. They want to sell more chicken. I don't know what to think about. Yes, great. I mean, the thing is, like, the fact is, and this is one thing that I pointed out on my TikTok, is that it's just so much easier to sell chicken than it is to sell seafood. I can't. It's hard for me to really fault Long John Silver's into trying to expand beyond seafood. And I do think that Long John Silver, like their food is actually really good. No, it's come on, man. It's fried fish. If you can't serve decent fried fish, whatever. Yeah, I mean it's really good. It's not good for you, but it's good. And they've always sold chicken because you always have to sell chicken if you're a fish concept, because a lot of people don't like seafood. And chicken is you eat, like, I think 5 times as much. The average American eats 5 times as much chicken as they do seafood. Chicken is just hot as hell. So they did that, and good for them. I guess I'm leaning into the side of, yeah, this is probably a good idea, but it's just weird to me for a chain called Long John Silver's to put a chicken in the middle of the logo. So there's that.
So where's the
And
online mob with their pitchforks?
yeah,
They came after Cracker Barrel for this is an even bigger change. You're replacing a fish with a chicken.
yeah, that change was far bigger than the change that Cracker Barrel made. Of course, the difference between Cracker Barrel and Long John Silver's is that Long John Silver's does not have an activist who might be willing to spend money on a bot campaign. There was another rebranding, Domino's, and that is, I will say, the Domino's is much more vanilla. I mean, it's not vanilla. It's actually really cool. I mean, what Domino's has done is it looks really good. It's their first rebranding in 13 years. Different colors, different boxes, brighter colors. They got Shabuzi to write a jingle. The jingle is called Domino's. I got to get the M's right, and so it's to me a really good. It's a really good rebranding. The most notable part is that there is a black and gold box for specialty pizzas. So your more premium pizzas will get a special box, that I guess, and this is going to roll out over the next few weeks. We'll see how it goes. But no activist at Domino's either, unlike Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, speaking of rebrands, isn't Wendy's about to do one too?
Maybe something like that. I don't know if it's not an actual rebrand, but what's going on is they announced a Project Fresh, and this is a sort of it's a strategy. It's a new strategy for the company that essentially will focus on increasing sales at the unit level, is the base foundational element. And there was a couple of interesting things about it, and it's a lot more than just than just branding. The one interesting thing is that they are taking money that they were investing in sort of this build to suit program that was designed to build restaurants for franchisees that had trouble getting financing. It was an expansion effort, and they're taking $20 million from that, and probably more than that next year. So essentially, they're taking money that they were going to invest in unit growth, and they are going to invest it in marketing and technology to increase sales at the unit level, which I generally tend to think is a good idea. When your restaurant chain is just not having great sales, and I think Wendy's is an interesting concept because it's a standalone brand. Its major competitors, its two biggest competitors, are much larger, part of much larger brand companies. Burger King with Restaurant Brands International, and they're spending like $2 billion to fix that chain. And then you got McDonald's and it's McDonald's is McDonald's. And then you got Wendy's as a standalone brand. And it's not, it hasn't, they're saying that their valuation is just not where they want it to be. And so they need to do something. And they're without a CEO right now. So they hope to, or they're targeting by the end of the year to have a new CEO in place. So it means they may or may not have a new CEO in place by the end of the year. They probably will. But then the other thing that they're doing, the other part about this is that they're hiring Greg Creed, or Greg Creed's consulting firm. He's just going to be a consultant, and he is going to help with brand optimization marketing. And he is essentially going to Taco Bellize Wendy's. Or use what he knows about marketing. And Greg Creed, by the way, knows a lot about marketing. He has as much to do with Taco Bell's current success as literally anybody else, because Taco Bell essentially established a framework or a roadmap, and they've been following it ever since, really, really well. And so Wendy's is hoping to leverage what Greg Creed knows to help with branding. And that's kind of where we're at right now. Everything sucks. Like the industry is just in a really, really tough spot. And so we've got all of these rebrandings. We've got all of these massive changes at all of these major companies. And because they have to do something to lift sales. And Wendy's is just one of them. Wendy's tried to do this early last year, because they were not satisfied with the state of the brand at that point. And then they replaced Todd Penegor with Kirk Tanner. Kirk Tanner, within 6 weeks on the job, puts his foot in his mouth with dynamic pricing. And then within 18 months, decides, I'm going to go back to the CPG industry because that's easier to deal with than the restaurant industry. That's where he's comfortable. And now Wendy's, whose sales really slowed the last couple of quarters, is really in sort of a tough spot. And so the company is undergoing this sort of thing. It's going to be the next several months for Wendy's, absolutely crucial, I think, in my opinion. But, so a lot of rebrandings.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like we're not in the food industry anymore. We're in the marketing industry this past year or so.
No, I mean, that's exactly the point. I mean, the restaurant industry really is all about marketing. It really, in the chain restaurant industry, I mean, just marketing is really important. And I better get some thank you notes from some marketing executives who listen to this. But marketing is just super ultra vital for the restaurant industry. I mean, if you look at the Cracker Barrel issue, ultimately it was a marketing issue that they were trying to fix a marketing issue. And then whatever happened. And, and so now they're basically back to square one. But yeah, marketing is just really important. Super, super competitive. Consumers have been cutting back on dining, so making it even more competitive. It's just so yeah, you've got to get your marketing right. And even if you do, you might get sales for a little bit and then they're just going to fall back again. It is an incredibly tough period for sure. All right. Well, coming up on Tech Check, Joe is going to talk more rebranding, but first, whatever ad Spoons sends us next.
Keep up with what's happening in the restaurant industry with Restaurant Daily.
I'm NRN Managing Editor Leanne Zinsmeister.
I'm RB Managing Editor Heather Lally.
We bring you a specific look of what's happening in the restaurant world from brands like McDonald's, single unit mom and pop shops, and hot button issues like inflation, tariffs, and more.
Start your day right with the Restaurant Daily podcast every weekday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And be sure to subscribe to never miss an episode.
Hello and welcome to Tech Check, where I, Joe Guszkowski, talk really fast about one big topic in restaurant tech. This week, what's in a logo? You may have noticed that there's been a lot of logo talk in the restaurant world lately. We've had Cracker Barrel and then Long John Silver's unveiling new logos that have turned some heads, to say the least. In the B2B tech world, things like logos and colors and branding don't get talked about as much, but maybe they should. A voice AI provider called Kia recently went through a total rebrand, giving itself an eye-catching orange and green color scheme and a cartoon parrot as its logo. The idea was in part to help the company stand out in a monotonous sea of tech companies. Kia's CEO told me they wanted to get away from all the purples and blues that are sort of the default uniform for tech vendors, and I wonder if we'll start seeing more suppliers try to distinguish themselves in this way. After all, the restaurant tech market is already crowded and seems to be getting more crowded all the time, so with so many similar options to consider, how does a company leave an impression on a busy restaurant operator? Kia, for one, is betting that a bird will do the trick.
And that should do it for The Week in Restaurants, which was edited, as always, by Spoons. Artwork by Nico Hines. You can find this and other episodes of the podcast on our website at restaurantbusinessonline.com, but by all means, subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I'm Jonathan Mays for Joe Guszkowski. Thank you for listening.